What's up everyone and welcome to this week's sketch workshop. Today I'm going to be showing you how to sketch a realistic tiger, but also using blending stubs to take your drawing to the next level. Now we're going to start off with this 0.7mm mechanical pencil with a 2B graphite stick. I also have my 0.9mm to add some contrast and details, and my 2mm to add some shading. Now if you don't have a mechanical pencil, anything you have around the house will work just fine. So let's start by adding some guidelines to help with the balance and symmetry of our drawing. So start at the very top in the middle. Just going to lightly work our way down towards the bottom, just using these short lines. Let's go back to the center of our page and draw another line going across from left to right. Now let's use these two lines to help us create a large circle in the center of our page to define the size of the head. So from that center point, I'm just going to move up to right about here, mark off the top of our circle, and we want to measure this distance from the center down towards the bottom, mark that off, and we'll do the same thing across this horizontal line. So measuring the distance from the center over towards the left and right side. And now we want to connect the center point of each mark with a curve to create the circle. So we'll start with the top left. It's going to roughly work our way around. And the circle doesn't have to be perfect. We just want to get the right size and placement in the center of our page. Now with the circle and guidelines in place, let's start blocking out the facial features. I'm going to find the halfway point between that center line and the left side of our circle. So right here, it's going to mark this off. Go all the way up toward the top and bottom. Let's do the same thing on the right side. So find the center point. Go up and then down. Now I want to draw a circle going around that center point. So this is for the eyes, going all the way around. So define the size of the eyes about there. Do the same thing on the right side. From the top of the eye, draw a straight line going all the way out toward the left and right side. Now from the inside of the eye, we're going to step over, mark this off, the edge of the muzzle. And we'll draw a straight angle line coming down and then out towards the bottom of that eye line. Let's do that on both sides. Now let's move to the center of our circle along the bottom. Draw a point coming down and then back up. Let's round out the muzzle. On the left side, we're going to come down, around, and then pull that up in the middle. Now underneath, it's going to add another curve for the chin. Now we're going to go back up to the top and just build out the volume of the fur around the head. Let's start from the top left, go around, come down. Now I just want to pull this in towards the side of the mouth on both sides. Let's go back up to the top. We're going to draw the ears. Just want to add the shape and the size coming in towards the top of the eye line. It's almost like drawing a half oval on both sides. Now with our rough sketch in place, I'm going to go back and erase some of these guidelines to get a better look at our drawing. Now once we clean up our drawing, I'm going to use that rough sketch as a guide to help us layer on some more details and refine the shapes. So let's start back at the eyes. We'll start from the very top around the side. It's going to clean up the circle going all the way around. Let's add a smaller circle in the center for the pupil. And then from here we're going to start layering the eyelid on top. Just going to take out the top of that circle, add a point on the outside, trace the eye along the bottom coming in. On the inside of the eye, pull this in towards the side of the muzzle. Bend this down along the side. It's going to work our way around, just adding those details. Let's add some more shape to the outside of the muzzle. So I want to bend this out. Now I'm going to add some more shape to the nose. Just using this upside down triangle as a guide. And then with the chin, it's going to soften up that fur. Going all the way across these little lines. It's going to add a trim going around the outside of the eyes. Just lightly sketching that out. And I'm just going to add some spots working our way around the outside of the eyes. So let's work our way up towards the top of the head and then down the side. Let's add some more shape to the ears. Just going to have some fur going around the outside of the head. Pull that in. Now I want to draw the back going over toward the left side. So we're going to extend this up and then bend this out. Just using these little guidelines going across. Now I'm going to go back and just darken up our contrast, starting back at the eyes along the bottom. And then with the pupil inside. Now I want to add a little bit of a highlight along the top edge of the eyes. Let's darken up the pupil and then go in behind that highlight. Let's darken up the top of the iris and then just gradually fade that down. I'm going to switch to my 0.9mm and add some more contrast and fill going along the top of the eyelid. I want to add that thick edge going around the bottom of the eye. Now this stripe, we're just going to fade that out as you come in toward the side of the muzzle. We'll split this off across the bottom. I'm just going to blend this into some shading coming in towards the nose. So let's start with the bottom edge. Just darken up the nostrils. I'm just going to soften out that fur going across the mouth. And then bending this towards the outside. Go back and add that fur across the chin. Now starting from the outside, just pulling this up and then in. So we're going to soften up that fur coming in towards the mouth. And from the top, I'm just going to darken up the edge of the mouth and then blend that down. Now this doesn't have to be perfect or perfectly clean because we'll come back with our blending stumps. A few little spots. Now we're going to go in and start adding those spots, working away from the eye, going out. Now I'm going to add those little lines and spots going across the muzzle in towards the center. Just going to lightly sketch this in first and layer in some more detail in after. Now we want to add those stripes going around the side of the jaw. And then from here, it's going to work our way around the perimeter of the head, starting from the chin. Again, we're just going to pull this first so it's darker along the outer edge, coming across and then in. So we're just working our way around. We can also build up the volume a little bit thicker and wider. Just going to add that outer stripe going around. And I'm using the side edge of my pencil to do this because I just want to soften this up, not make it as dark. Now I'm just going to cap off the top with some more stripes. And just work our way across the back. I'm just looking at the thickness of these stripes. Not getting too detailed with this. And then go ahead and start adding those spots. Stripes in the center of the forehead. And we can offset the shape a little bit just to make it look a little bit more natural. Now in this next step, I'm going to choose a wide blending step and start softening up my drawing and the fur. So let's start with the side of the head. We're almost like painting in shadows. Starting along the bottom. And I don't want to go too heavy with this. I just want to soften up that base layer of fur. Also working with some tones. I just want to darken up the shadows along the bottom because the light's come from the top going across. So the shadows sit along the bottom edge with the highlights going across the top of each shape. So let's push the chin and jaw area into shadow and then soften that up as we go up. We can also go over the stripes just to soften up those stripes. And then we're just going to almost like paint in the shadows across the neck and then fade that down. So the head's casting a shadow across the body. And now we're going to darken up some of those tones across the head. Fill the top of the back in that sort of medium tone, and then just fade that out. And once in a while, I'm just going to go back over some of these darker areas just to pick up some of that graphite, and then go back over those medium areas. Just adding a little bit more tone. And also adding some softness to the inside of the eyes. Once we finish softening up a drawing, I'm going to go back in with my smaller pencil, my 0.7, and just add some fur texture on top. Just layering this on top of our shadows and tones. Now I want to add a little bit more shadow to the side of the body, so I use the side edge of my 2mm pencil. I'm just going to add a base first, And then go back to our blending stump and just smooth that out. Now, as we get closer to the end, I'm just going to tighten up our shadows and detail, and always be sure to sign our artwork, and that's pretty much it. There's a sketch illustration of a realistic tiger using a blending stump. I want to thank you for joining me today. Keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next one.